Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got an unbalanced rack. Through an I would have flippant. I certainly don't have a 7 with this rack. But I think the solitary vowel means I can play or will play rather than exchange. I can play flap, which sorts the rack out in one go. Now, I'm not seeing any other 8s apart from flippant, so is opponent going to oblige? He's quite a high-rated player, so that increases the likelihood that opponent will change on the first go. He doesn't, and he doesn't provide an I. So, is there really nothing with an O? No, I don't think there is. And I'm not going to be able to play flap. However, what I can do is flop. The rack leave is decent. And I could play plop in the same spot, but this is better. P is a more bingo-y tile than an F, and this scores more. And I'm giving very little away. Okay, well, a lot of vowels. Is there a bingo? Well, I'm not seeing a 7. How about the floaters? Nothing with the P. F and P don't go well together. How about the L? No, and the G. Well, I suspect there are some 8s with this rack, but none has come to mind with the floaters on the board. So how to sort it out? Quite tricky because I want to address the vowel consonant balance, but I'd also like to use the P to get some score. And the board pretty tight with 2 short opening plays. And opponent continues that and doesn't provide any new floaters. Now, am I sure there's no bingo here? I've got the Asian ending with PA. Not seeing anything with that. Fortunately, I can play over the top of Feg. And I have patio in this spot for 21. Giving opponent useful floaters, decent scoring spot, but what's the alternative? The play's got to begin PA. And then what? Don't think I can do much other than this. This certainly does sort out the vowel consonant balance. I'm going with this. Well, all bingo-y tiles. But is there one here? Duplicate N. Slightly limiting bingo prospects. And also this rack would benefit from consonants, so doesn't benefit from the I and the O. I'm not seeing a 7. What about a play with the P? That could begin PO or PI. And I'm not seeing anything. So this is a tricky rack. I have no scoring tiles. An opponent playing off just a couple of tiles, 2 or 3 tiles each turn, suggests he may be nursing a decent rack leave each move. Now, I'm not seeing any 8 so far, but I suspect there will be some with the right floater. Are there any pairs of tiles I need to consider? No, there aren't. Flop only takes an S, Vog only takes an S, so... Wow, look at that, both blanks for opponents. I suspect he was going to bingo no matter what I did. So, I have a bingo. I have in ornate through this T. Fantastic. Doesn't score very much, but a bingo is always welcome. And anointer and re-anoint are the anagrams. Do I have anything with a B? I don't think I do, but I certainly need to consider the possibility. Nope, not seeing anything. Does in ornate or any of its anagrams run over the top of patio? Well, anointer would make NI, so that doesn't. Re-anoint would have the same problem. And in ornate would have NT, so no. So in ornate for 60. Wow, what a dreadful pick. Fortunately, I only trail by 7. Both blanks have gone. Just the one vowel. So I have dink in column 8. B slightly too far across for brick. Do I have anything through this blank in the middle row? Well, nothing great. Now this O could be useful. I can put a high scoring tile either side. So I could play dork, preserving my vowel. What about a play beginning with K? Nothing better than core, and I don't see a way of playing the V. One V already gone, which is a small mercy. Wow, 51 for opponent, leaving alone my dink spot. Would rink be better? Sorting out the duplicate R. So this for 39, decent score. I'm sorting out duplicate R. If I had, would C double RV be better than C DRV? I don't think so, and I'm only giving up 3 points in score, so I think this is the play. Well, still only one vowel, so very unbalanced and non-bingo-y, but this does feel like there's some synergy here. C and H have synergy. Through an N, I would have Harivna. And the board quite tight, which is useful since, well, it's probably useful for both of us. It stops opponents zooming off while I have a non-bingo rack. That's the good thing. Now, I think diarch is good, although it could be just diarchy. Second Y hasn't been played yet. What do I have through this B? Not very much. Again, thwarted by the lack of vowels. So what about a play through the O, which I was mentioning before? That just about stays available. Aha is good, and Ava is good. So I could play Vor. What else is available? Is there a way of getting my H under this C? O-R-H. Arve is good. Are there any something OV words? Don't think so. And I could start one square to the left. Not seeing anything. Well, what I do have is Hoy for 34. And given that I have 4 scoring tiles, getting rid of 3 of them is good. Just wondering if that's worth putting an A in front. 4 more points. Well, the A's got to be worth something between 0 and 4, so I think that's a pretty nothingy decision. Either would be fine. I doubt that the A is worth more than 4, but it definitely gives a better rack leave, so I'm going to keep it on my rack. But can I do even better than this? 15 minutes on my clock. No, I am going with this. Great, I draw some vowels and there's a semblance of balance in the rack, close to avocado. I would need an O for that. And just 12 points between us. Cordovan is double O, not double A. Just looking at the available floaters, R and I, H, S, U and Q. Well, I'm not seeing a bingo with this rack, so how to sort it out? Well, a play of VAC would certainly do that. Where's that going to play? I don't have an I for QI or a U. What about a play through this U? Not seeing anything. And given this is such a tight game, I'm reluctant to open the board up too much. I'm not so far behind I need to introduce volatility. 26 points for opponent, and so takes an S and an N. Now, I have an O for going to the right of the W. Do I have a 6-letter O play? I do not. So, what am I going to do here? This is a tight board, but I'd like to sort the rack out in one. What about a play onto the K? That would have to end OK. And I'm not seeing one. Plays beginning with H, H-A-O. I could play Vrow. I don't have to get rid of V and C. What I would like to do is get rid of V and A. So I could play Arvo. Although I could play just Vor, this is 10 more points. And although the only problem tiles were V and A, the rack as a whole was slightly problematic in lacking E's and S's. So K-Door, although they are 5 nice tiles, don't have huge bingo prospects. So I prefer Arvo. If opponent's got an S and plays in row N, at least I have access to triple word squares. And there's a limit to parallel plays because V is not part of any 2-letter word. Is this the best I can do? Still 3 S's to come. I am going with this. Wow. Not great, I don't think. AW takes a number of right hooks, including an A. So I have Adagio if opponent doesn't play there. Not too many spots on the board to play, so opponent may well go in that spot. I now do have an I for going under Q, and I also have the tiles for Caddy and Cade for 28 points. So I should get a half-decent score this go. I still trail by 20. Is there really no bingo here? So what about the R? Not seeing anything through that. K, doesn't look promising. V and G, nothing there. And R and V are duplicates to tiles I've considered before, so I'm not seeing any bingo, and I'm not seeing a 7 with this rack. 33 for Adagio. What if that is blocked? Well, I have Caddy and opponent can't block both of those. Unless he plays through the V or the O. But a play through the V may create additional opportunities to get to this triple word square. But overall, not a great rack. I've had in ornate, just the one bingo. And I've survived opponent's play of both the blank. So I'm still in this game. But I don't feel that I'm on the brink of putting a bingo down. Opponent taking a while. Has he got a bingo? 3 S's and some good S lanes on the board. Flop takes an S and Arvo does. A bingo ending in S would only score face value in both spots, but the simple existence of a 7-letter S lane is really handy because S features so often at the end of a 7-letter bingo. And although more than half the tiles have been played, 3/4 of the S's remain. But if opponent does bingo in either of those spots, or indeed in row A, I do have Adagio. Do I have anything better than Adagio? That leaves the C on my rack, so I may be able to score more. What can go next to AW apart from the A? Nothing. Okay, great. Well, only 23 points for opponent. He does block Adagio. My caddy spot remains. Do I have anything through the Y? I have nothing which goes after of. So, Goya, not good. But I feel like there could be something. I'm not saying a bingo with the Y. Kadji is good. Let me see what that looks like. Ah, Y is not in last place. I do have the tiles for Kadji, but it's not what I wanted to do. This spot is not massively dangerous. I don't have to take it out. It's just that I may be able to score more than I can get with caddy. 12 minutes on my clock, so plenty of time. If I did play in row O, it would be a vowel after the Y. No, just not seeing anything. Caddy, the score's okay, but this rack leaves pretty ropey. C and G don't go great together, and O is a non-bingo-y vowel. About 28 points. Not to be sneezed at. I'm going with this. Finally, an E. Well, I did have one within ornate, but this is only the second and third I've seen. But the rack as a whole pretty grim. 2 vowel heavy, 5 vowels. Perhaps not surprising given the consonant heavy racks I had at the beginning of the game. So, what's opponent going to do? Caddy has created a new 7-letter S lane for a bingo which doesn't get doubled. Great, just 35 points. Now, although this rack is pretty awful, surely I can sort it out in one go. I'm thinking about OG, but that burns both of the E's and leaves a vowel-heavy rack leave. Is there a way of getting some value from some of the high-scoring tiles on the board? So, Avo for 16. Not great. What about an alternative play alongside Caddy? OG isn't terrible. It doesn't provide opponent with anything massive. And again, if he has an S, then it doesn't get doubled. Only 15 points. And look at this, I trail by 50 points. But this rack leave isn't awful. There is a floating consonant in the R. Let me put this back. I have 10 minutes. What about a play onto the K? Not seeing one. What about a play down from the V? So, what about Vogie? Keeping ace, which goes quite nicely with the R. If opponent is tempted to play down with a tile next to the E, then there'll be at least 2 floaters. So I do like this play. I am going with it. Well, still vowels, 5 vowels. How wretched. So I'm not bingoing. I also can't score highly in column 8. But I'm not sure opponent can. Only the X can go in that spot of the high-scoring tiles and the M. But what am I going to do here? Nothing with the R. I've got the Euro prefix. Look at this, floating vowels everywhere. Could there be a bingo with a floating consonant? Possibly. None is coming to mind. So, how am I going to sort this rack out? I need to play off just vowels. If I could play off EOU, then what's left would be fine. But the problem with that is I'm really not going to score very much. Opponent does bingo, 79 points. Nice play. So, do I have anything with the D? No. What about the L? No. What about playing Sue for 9? Hopeless. Can I play off one more vowel? O, U, and E is what I'd like to play. I could play Euro for almost nothing, taking out the R in row A, but I think in that case I'd rather change to preserve that lane. Tricky position. So, what to do? 8 minutes on my clock. Certainly O and U need to go. Let me check the remaining vowels. 9 out of 27, so interesting. What about playing just Sue? And then this rack goes well with R, D, and L. And I'm stopping opponent from playing soz and says. X spot under the E, but maybe I'll get that. I'm going with this. Okay, well, I draw the Z. I don't have a bingo. But can I get some value from the Z? I trail by 100, so I'm in a grim situation. I have Zeta in column 10. 33 points. I really can't have any more 9-point plays in this game. What about play in row L? Well, yes, Zeta plays there as well. I'm taking out very useful floaters, but I think the score may justify that. Over 50 points. But opponent likely to be attracted to that spot for both the score and taking out floaters, given his lead. But if he's got the X, he may play in row N and leave that alone. Just 15 tiles in the bag. Am I sure I don't have a bingo? There's an I for an IZE word. Not seeing anything. Through L and I disconnected, I would have zealotrice and cartelize if they were together. Interesting, if opponent places an L and there are 2 to come above this I would have cartelize. Eight minutes on opponent's clock, 7 on mine, and opponent's played. He's played mud. Great, that means he's left alone this spot. Now, I saw Zeta. Anything better? This rack leaves quite good. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything better than this. Zeta for 55. Wow. Vowel shortage again. Painful. Through an A, I would have centrals. Now there's a floating U. Lecterns. Gosh, surely opponent will... Oh, I was going to say leave that alone, but he's inadvertently blocked it by playing Ox. Yeah. Gosh, that's a shame. That would have been nice. 9 tiles in the bag. What about this floating I in rink? Not seeing anything there. ED is useful, but not with my rack. What about TI? No. Okay, so 9 tiles to come. I trail by 130. The game is lost. But always nice to get another bingo down if you can. And this is such a good rack. It's just vowel short. 7 vowels to come out of 16. Why don't I play Nerds? 42 points. It's not going to win the game, but I think it's better to take 40 points than score very little and try and get a bingo by the end of the game. Overall, I think this is going to be a move which results in a lower average losing spread. I'm going with Nerds. Wow, and I draw 3 vowels. Pretty good. So, is there a bingo here? Feels like there is. So, what about the floating R? Corbeils and brickholes, neither goes. Floating K, blockies, possibly. What about the floating U? Sibbles. Okay, wow, 45 points for opponent, that's nice. Empties the bag. So, do I have a 7? It may play in column 2. If I do, I don't think Becoils is good, but in any event, that doesn't play. 4 minutes on my clock. Now, there is a 7-letter lane in column 10, parallel to Caddy. Ecbolics is good through a C. Nothing ending TI. What about TIED? Nope, not seeing anything there. How about the floating I in rink? No, not seeing anything. Okay, so opponent's not going to go out in 1. I need to go out in 2 and score well. No huge scoring spots on the board. 4 minutes on my clock. What about a play parallel to Caddy? Really short on scoring spots on this board. So I have bowl for 19. Can I now go out with sick or sizz? Wow, surely I can. Sizz and muse, so I can. And I'm pretty sure I'll find a second spot. But is this the best? 19 points. Where could I score more? Not seeing anywhere. Am I going with this? Is there really no bingo in this lane? I could play lob in the same spot. I'm going with this. Okay, so I have CIS and Muse. I rather recklessly played without having a second spot in mind. But I was confident there was one. I'm less confident now. Nothing around AW. No play through the R. Chisk. Maltese beer. That would play, but isn't good. Opponent's got 6 minutes to spot my CIS play and block it. If I don't have a second out, then bowl would definitely have been a bad play, because I'm sure there were a ton of ways of going out in 2. Just looking around, seeing if I can find a second spot. Arvo takes an S. AW doesn't, otherwise I could play sick. Soft, not good. Wow, I think opponent may have realised that was my only out. So well done to him for spotting that. I've got 2 minutes to, well, find an out, but I don't think there is one. So my S can go after caddy. But then will I be stuck with the C? I've got CAA. And cod. So I'm not stuck with the C. But I would like to go out in 1 if I can. Opponent has thrown down the gauntlet by blocking that spot. But I'm not seeing a play. Okay, so 1 minute on my clock. Where's the best spot for my S? This is what I'd seen. Caddy for 17. I'm going with this. So, is there any way of playing C and I? Probably not. Ah, well, opponent goes out. Okay, fine. Gets the agony over with, and the final score, 367 for me, 486 for my opponent, a winning margin of 119 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. Gosh, well, that ran away from me at the end. Could I have done something about it? Opponent, opening rack, he's got the blank, no bingo, plays Vogue. Palp available, I play flop, keeping pant. So G8 Palp. Interesting. Is ANPT 8 points better than FNT? It's going to be close. I think pant is positive. I would say that's maybe worth +4 or 5. And I would say FNT is negative. Maybe -3. So there could be a 7-point difference there. And there's only an 8-point difference in score. And flop provides less because Palp provides access to double word squares and takes hooks. Now, opponent's rack. No bingo. Plays Feg. And I play Patio. I didn't like it, but I couldn't see anything better. And there's nothing obviously better down here. Mind you, Avo keeping paint does look quite handy. G7. Yeah, maybe that was the play. Paint is a nice 5-letter set, and it's only a 5-point score sacrifice. And I would be providing no hooks. No floaters, rather. Opponent's rack. A ton of bingos. He plays bottomer, and I have in ornate. And that's the highest scoring bingo available. Great spot by opponent of Kirsch. Could also have played Quench in row B. Now, I trail by 50. I've got a poor rack. I play Rink, which I prefer to Dink. Opponent's rack plays a back. And now another unbalanced rack. Duarchy, that's nice. G12 through the U. Decent score, sorts the rack out. what do? I play Hoy for 34, one fewer point. Yeah, Duarchi would have been better. Opponent's rack plays Unso. And I play Arvo here. Yeah, and I think that's fine. But avoid B5. Yeah, also has merit. Car slightly better than Cad, but avoid provides a really good spot in row A for opponent to play Wifey. So opponent plays Fey. And I struggled here. I went with Caddy, and nothing obviously better. DR uses the same tiles, but only scores 2 more points, so very little between those. Wow, look at that. Opponent has a bingo onto this Y. Slide way. Gosh, that would have been amazing. Very difficult to spot. So here we are. I trail by 50 and have a really tricky rack. So I play Vogie, and you can see here not much more available. And opponent has a dream rack, plays dialers, and goes into a 110-point lead. So I'm in pretty bad shape with 5 vowels. Kude would have been nice. Yeah, 28 points, decent rack leave, and leaving some of the floaters alone. So that would have been a better play than Sue. Opponent plays Mud. And now I briefly had some hope with Zeta, but look at this, J2, Zerda available, getting the Z tripled, and that would have kept open the A as a floater and created a new lane. So Zerda would have been a better play and a better rack lead, given that there's a floating R. I just didn't consider column 2. Interesting, that would have put me within a bingo's reach of opponent. Now, opponent plays Ox, and I play Nerds for 42. That looks fine. Opponent plays Jedis, and here we go. Did I miss a bingo? I did. Colby's. Wow. C2, Colby's, NE and ES. Wow, there was a bingo there. Well done if you spotted that. It wouldn't have won the game, but it would have been a nice way to finish the game. What do? I play Bowl for 19. Okay, so you can see here there were a number of plays which would have given me an out in 2, I think. Opponent plays in. And Chris is good. Interesting. A7 through the R. CRIS. CRI is not good, but CRIS is. And opponent goes out with trail. So, what a game. A great victory for opponent with a margin of over 100 points. And just quite a few unbalanced racks to deal with, which I struggled with. And I did manage to deal with them, but they were simply replaced with other problematic racks, and I didn't have a decent run of bingos to get back into the game. But good fun nonetheless. Many congratulations to opponent on his victory. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.